Hello everyone, my name is Denjis Kamordia, and here's my final exam assignment. Check it out. The number one is participation. Participation in political is the involvement of citizens in political processes such as election, demonstration, or policy discussion in order to influence government decisions. My contribution as a student act as agent of change through social criticism, policy advocacy, political education, and oversight of power. Not being upheld is not exercising the right to vote during election, being apathetic about political issues, and not voicing public interest. Number two is equality. The meaning of equality is a condition in which everyone is treated equally without discrimination in rights, opportunities, and treatment. My contribution as a student is promote inclusion, voice social justice, and reject discrimination based on gender, race, or social status. And not being upheld is discrimination in education, unequal pay, and restricted access to employment or leadership opportunities. The number three is tolerance. Tolerance is an attitude of mutual respect for differences, whether religion, ethnicity, culture, or views. My contribution as a student model an inclusive attitude, educate the community, and maintain harmony in campus or social environment. Not being upheld is refuse, associate, or cooperate with groups of different faiths. Number four is accountability. Accountability is the obligation to transparently account for action, decision, and use of resources. What my contribution as students are monitor campus policy, demand information disclosure, and criticize abuse of power. The not being upheld is not of providing accountability reports after receiving activity funds. And the number five is transparency. The meaning of transparency is the openness in conveying information, processes, and decisions to the public. What's my contribution as a student are encourage information disclosure, criticize closed practices, and disseminate correct data to the public. Not being upheld is when the hiding the budget or meeting results of campus organization from members. And then number six is fair election. Fair elections are elections that take place in honest, fair, free, and transparent manner without fraud. Contribution as students can become election monitors, voice election justice, and educate voters to vote consciously. Not being upheld is when money politics or pressure on voters to vote for a particular candidate. And the number seven is economic freedom. Economic freedom is the freedom of individuals to manage resources, work, produce, and do business without excessive interference from the government. What my contribution as a student are to support entrepreneurship, voice economic justice, and criticize restrictive economic policies. And not being upheld is restriction on access to business for certain groups or complicate an unfair business license. And the number eight is proper use of power. The proper use of power is the correct, fair, and responsible use of power for the common good. Contribution: students watch out for abuse of power, speak out for justice, and push leaders to play by the rules. Not being upheld is when abuse of office for personal or group interests, leader or campus organization decides on literal politics without deliberation or violate the rules. The number nine is human rights. Human rights are basic rights inherent in every individual from birth that are universal. inalienable, and must be guaranteed by the state. This contribution is the students act as agent of change who voice justice, advocate, and monitor human rights violations through action, discussion, and social media. Not being upheld is when the right to freedom of expression is often not being exercised, especially when criticism of the government is silenced or faced with intimidation and criminalization. And the last but not least is the rule of law. So, the rule of law is a principle that all people, including rules, are subject to the law fairly and equally. My contribution as a student play a role in guarding law enforcement by criticizing injustice, educating the public, and voicing the rule of law. It's not being upheld is when the selective law enforcement, for example, when corrupt officials are not punished accordingly, show that the law is not being implemented fairly.